The Loosh account presented Robert Monroe with a cold, prosaic concept. Humanity, the theory suggested, was effectively an agricultural project, existing to produce emotional energy to feed an unseen entity. Processing this information took months. He went through the well-documented cycle of grief: shock, rejection, anger, depression, resignation, and eventually acceptance. His lifelong concept of a benevolent creator was dismantled. While he let go of the theology of his youth, he maintained a deep respect for the observable, symbiotic logic of the natural world. Ecosystems traded outputs perfectly, trees absorbing human waste and exchanging it for oxygen, maintaining the precise atmosphere required for life. To move forward, Monroe needed to find out if the brutal mechanics of an energy farm could be reconciled with the elegant ecological order he still trusted. The obvious missing variable in his data was the exact role of his non-physical guides, the entities he referred to as the INSPECS. He needed to know if they were the overseers of this system or just another harvest. Instead of waiting for them to initiate contact, Monroe detached from his physical body one night and initiated a blind search. He moved out into the void without any external homing signal. To keep his bearings in the absolute dark, he locked his focus onto a single dense memory shape, using it to steady his trajectory through the emptiness. Monroe treated the mission as a targeted search for empirical, mechanical data regarding the underlying architecture of human purpose. Reaching their territory, the guides greeted him with a name he inexplicably recognized: Ashaneen, and they immediately established the first rule of his dilemma: the distortion of translation. The terrifying concept of the Loosh farm was accurate in its basic structure, but heavily distorted by human vocabulary. Attempting to describe non-physical realities using words built for physical space creates severe structural errors. Rather than explaining it through language, the guides showed him the telemetry of his own life. They displayed his timeline not as human memories, but as overlapping waveforms of color and light. This visual data showed his earliest years dominated by dense red and pink bands, the tones of baseline survival. These were occasionally pierced by brilliant white spikes of pure energy coming from external sources, like his parents. One distinct, smaller node of that bright incoming energy was identifiable as a childhood Airedale Terrier named Pete. Looking at the complete scan, the data revealed a stark deficit. Throughout his entire life, Monroe had absorbed significantly more of this pure energy from outside sources than he had ever produced himself. This diagram of an oscillator circuit explains humanity's actual function. Internal components generate the frequency, while the antenna only broadcasts it. You do not have to be the final transmission point to be a necessary piece of the hardware. Applying this logic to biology, a Guernsey cow grazing in a pasture is cared for and protected. She performs a vital biological function in the ecosystem without ever needing to comprehend the larger agricultural operation around her. And the logic extended further. Even a lone bull standing apart from the herd contributes indirectly to the system. Passive environmental inputs, the fields, the harvested hay, support the entire system. They provide the necessary fuel without ever generating the final product themselves. The mechanical truth of the situation was entirely clear. Humans don't need to consciously direct their energy or understand their exact place in the hierarchy to be integral components in the cosmic machinery. With the local mechanics established, Monroe asked the guides where they, and the unseen architect of Earth's garden, sit in the broader hierarchy. They described a structure of nested creators. The architect of our reality was created by something else, which was itself created by something larger, repeating endlessly outward into deep space. To demonstrate the absolute scale of this, the guides transported him to the extreme outer boundary of their system. Here, he faced a blinding golden-white radiation of unbearable intensity. As the sheer power of it threatened to dissolve his awareness, his guide moved directly into the path of the light, acting as a mechanical filter so Monroe could observe the source safely. This mediation proved a crucial point about the design. The architecture of this universe actively protects its components from being destroyed by the very energy they interact with. The final piece of the equation was the output itself. The specific energy humans generate is synthesized entirely from human emotional experience, shaped equally by deep suffering and profound love. This raw, chaotic emotional output is gathered at a central core. There, it is transmuted into pure, refined white energy, which is then redirected outward to sustain systems across the universe. Before he could analyze the core any further, an urgent physical telemetry signal gripped him, pulling him rapidly backward through the dark and aborting the session entirely. He woke in his physical bed in the quiet dark, his dog resting warm against his beat. The existential dread of the Loosh farm theory had evaporated. The data confirms a specific cosmic logic. Humanity acts as the vital emotional engine, transmuting raw experience into the refined fuel that sustains the wider cosmos.